Hey guys, Teresa here. Welcome back to my channel, Lost My Thread. I'm here today for a chatty catch up and to share everything I made in the month of March. I think this is going to be a long one, so please do feel free to pause this video, go get a drink or a snack, or pause anytime you need to and come on back. But I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start by what I sewed in March, which is a pretty long list. And then I will do my general life update, 25 for 2025 update. As ever, there will be chapters down below if you want to skip around. I will start with what I sewed in the month of March, and the main thing I was working on in March was the Sew Frugal Challenge. I made a video for inspiration and ideas of things that I was thinking and hoping of making for my loungewear wardrobe, because that is definitely the biggest gap in my wardrobe, particularly my me-made wardrobe. I needed to really bulk up my loungewear, and I had some things that I thought would work well, picked out some patterns, and guys, how many of the items from my inspo video did I end up making? How about all of them? I'm definitely very proud of myself. I did really well. I will say these were quick makes, and that is the reason why I was able to get so many done. But I did also have a week off in March, and that is a big factor. So whenever I have time off and I don't have tons of plans of things I need to do, I can get a lot more sewing done. So I am really proud of what I made. I feel like overall it was a very successful time. I feel like my loungewear is looking amazing. I am truly happy to have it now all booked up with lots of beautiful me-mades. I can throw away some of the old things with holes in it that really just need to go. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what I'm wearing. Now, I am wearing this hoodie over the top because I really like it with this hoodie. This is the Stanton Hoodie by Cashmerette. This isn't anything I made this month, but I don't know, there's something about these two together. I think the colors work well, and because this has leaves, this is a See You at 6 jersey. Hopefully you can see the leafy print, and I feel like the colors are nice. Anyway, that's not the reason I'm showing you. I need to show you the actual jumpsuit, but this is a jumpsuit that came from a vision that I had, and it came together so nicely. I feel like it's kind of a funky order to talk about this jumpsuit first, but I'm gonna do it because it's what I'm wearing. It makes sense to me. The top portion of this jumpsuit is the Luna Tank by Helen's Closet. Free pattern, by the way. I will just mention all the freebies, but all the Sew Frugal patterns are free, just as like a bit of a caveat. But yes, this is a free pattern intended for like a drapey jersey fabric. I did go in at the sides to make it not quite so roomy. I basically kind of went slightly A-line from where it goes in at the arm. I really like how well it fits across the high bust area, and I thought that would be a really good way to have it fit well, but then also it really goes outward, like quite a dramatic out, like a tent shape on the original pattern design. So yeah, I just honed that in a little bit. And I also have the bottom half of this then is taken from the the Hattie Elastic Waist Lounge Pants by Tiana's Closet. Now this is a hacked version. I did end up adding a pocket here. So it's like a curved slash pocket. And I did that basically just by kind of making it up. But there was a video, quite random, from Guthrie and Ghani, where the people who work for Guthrie and Ghani were sharing some sewing tips, and somebody was talking through how you can make this kind of pocket on any kind of pant. Now, I didn't really follow it, but it inspired me, and it made me think, oh yeah, I could just do that. And I've had patterns that do that. I know how that would come together. But I will put a link to that video if you do want to see like a little walkthrough of how to do that on any pants that don't have pockets. I think it turned out really well. I love the shape of it. I love how deep. I gave it a really nice, good deep pocket, which, you know, when you make it yourself, you're going to make it how you like it. These pants are very wide leg. I decided to crop this jumpsuit a little bit because I felt like it worked a little bit better with the style. It just made a bit more sense. I am so in love with this jumpsuit. This is definitely for me like a highlight of what I've made in the last month. The binding, so there's a binding that goes around the neck hole and the armhole of this tank top pattern. And you do have an option to fold it in again and make it enclosed, which I did do on another version of this tank, but I really like how it looks on this. It's a modal French terry. So I got this from a D-stash and it was being sold as a cotton French terry. And when I looked at it and I felt it, it felt a lot softer and more drapey than a cotton. And I thought that just doesn't really seem right. And when I looked at the salvage, I mentioned this in my video as well, but when I looked at the salvage, it is pretty clear. Modal flowers, poppy Oikotex. So it is a French terry, so I don't know how much you can see. It's got that little loop back. Wants to focus on my face. It's got the loop back on the back, but it really does have, and I don't know if I can maybe just stand up and show you, like really wonderful drape and movement. It is so soft. It is ridiculously soft. So again, the idea of this is to be loungewear. So I really wanted some clothes that would feel really comfortable, that I could just hang around at home in and not feel slobby if I have to answer the door, if I have to go take the garbage out, if I have to basically be seen outside of my house. And this is so, so perfect. Now I will say this one is kind of on the verge of just becoming something I'm going to wear out, and I have to be careful with that because I have a lot of really wonderful clothes to wear out and about. What I don't have are the clothes that I'm wearing when I'm at home. So I'm going to try my best to keep it for at home. But like today we went grocery shopping and I was like, yeah, cool. I'll just throw my sweatshirt on, head out. I feel absolutely fine in it. And that is kind of the point, to be honest. So I'm really happy with this jumpsuit, and it was really fun when it was like my vision coming together. So I did keep the elastic waist, though it is slightly narrower. So this is just a 3/4 inch elastic waist. I felt like it made a little bit more sense like for the jumpsuit look. And I did do a video about how to hack together a top and a bottom to make a jumpsuit, which is basically what I did. So I'll put a link to that video if you want to see how I did that. But mainly I'm just, yeah, I'm really pleased with this one. It is so, so soft. It is very much taking me back to a jumpsuit that I used to have when I was a kid that was like a French terry that was super comfortable, and I want to wear it all the time. This was one of those things that as soon as I made it, I put it on to just check that it was all fitting where I wanted it to be, and I did not want to take it off. So that's definitely a win. I think the color is so beautiful. The print is so, so pretty. And I feel like this was the perfect thing to do with it. So I'm really glad that I made it up for this challenge. Now, what would have made more sense to start with is the two-piece set that this jumpsuit was made from. So the top, this is the Luna Tank by Helen's Closet. So same pattern, but in its actual original design. I went for the cropped length. There's a cropped and a longer length, and I thought the crop would be cute with my high-waisted trouser, and I think that worked really well. As you can see, this fabric is floaty and drapey, like a fluid liquid drape, really wonderful. This is a DBP, double brushed poly fabric that I got from JoAnn's, RIP, a couple of years ago. It's an apricot. I feel like it's not showing up quite as bright, the color on there, so I'll just correct it a little bit to show you guys what it looks like, or pop an image up. But it is a little bit close to my skin tone, which I've always been conscious of. The idea of this was to make a cardigan, but I decided not to do that, to make a loungewear set instead, and I'm so glad that I did. Absolutely love how this worked out. Now this is definitely really comfortable and wonderful to wear. DBP double brush poly feels amazing against the skin, and it is surprisingly good in both cooler and warmer weathers. And I am overall happy with how it came together. So this is not the binding, or it's an enclosed binding. So on the outside you can't see it. And then if I probably just show you from this side, it's enclosed. So I folded the binding in and then stitched it in place. And you might have noticed also that there is a different fabric on the inside there, and that is because I decided to add a shelf bra. I used a tutorial from Christine Hines. I didn't use it like exactly because it was for a slightly different pattern, but I just basically followed the principles of it, and generally I will say it worked out well. The lining fabric, or what I used for the shelf bra, is a bit of an unusual choice, but it was because so frugal, guys. I was using what I had. I wasn't going out and buying any more fabric. The whole point is to use what you've got, and I didn't have any more of this DBP fabric. I would have used the self fabric if I had it. Unfortunately, I didn't. And I wanted to find something that had a similar kind of weight and drape to it, which I think you can see this actually does pretty well. Now, this is, of all things, a polyester stretch velvet, so definitely a bit of an odd choice. Now, I will say both of these fabrics have really good stretch and recovery, so I felt like they were going to be pretty compatible to sit sort of inside each other. And the velvet fabric, this is like scrap basically from a cover that I'd made for a chair when I was about 19. I used it to cover up an inflatable chair that my dad had won at like a radio giveaway or something like that. And I didn't love the chair look of it, but I liked it to have for a reading chair. And so I made myself a little cover out of this velvet fabric, knowing it'd be really nice and soft to sit on. It worked well, but I didn't bring the inflatable chair to the UK when I moved here. And so I left that behind, but kept the fabric, thinking, well, it's really nice soft fabric. Why am I going to throw that away? I can find a use for it at some point. And find a use for it I did. It may have been probably like 20 years later, but here we are with a little shelf bra inside this. So I will say I had kind of hoped that the shelf bra might work so that I could just generally get away with not needing to wear a bra and still feel comfortable like answering the door or whatever it might be, but definitely not. It is not that much of a support, but I will say it's comfortable. It feels nice and supportive. And especially when it gets really hot, it's nice to have something sort of tucked up under the bust. If it gets really hot and sweaty, it's a lot more comfortable. So I'm happy to have that. And the pants here, so again, this is the same pattern that I just cannot remember the name of. The Hattie Elastic Waist Lounge Pants by Tiana's Closet. I will say these pants are great. So they are really nice and very wide. Again, they've got that wonderful drape to it. There is meant to be some top stitching going along the waistband, but I just did some stitching down at the seams, at the front, at the back, at the sides. And I feel like that's holding everything pretty well together. And I feel like if I had added that, it would just look a little bit more sporty. I like the look how it is. Now that's another thing to mention with the Luna Tank. The hem is raw. There is no seam at the hem. So I made sure that I tucked in and sort of stitched in my overlocking seam so that nothing's going to come apart. I like the look of it and I feel like it makes it that little bit more like bouncy and floaty around. And so I decided to do the same with the pants. So I left it with a raw hem and it does feel just so light and floaty and super duper comfortable to wear. I had such a pain getting photos of this set. I feel like because the DBP, it wants to kind of stick to itself, and I tried taking pictures outside so I could get natural lighting because I feel like that just makes things a little easier to see. But then of course I had the wind to contend with and things were getting blown and kind of sticking to itself. It doesn't look like that in real life when I'm at home, but it was the best I could do to get some photos. But hey, you guys get the idea. I do really like the look of the set. I did not add pockets onto these pants because the original pattern doesn't come with any pockets. There are instructions of how you can draft your own pockets, which, I mean, it's fine, but I would appreciate having it there. It's a free pattern. And I will say Helen's Closet free pattern is like primo, just as good as one you would pay for. I love the finish, how it comes together. The instructions are fantastic. Cannot fault it. The Tiana's Closet pattern felt like a free pattern, if you know what I mean. There was a point when I was piecing together my A4 pieces and there was a line missing at the bottom of one of the pages that you're supposed to trim off to line things up. I thought, well, that's kind of funny that's just missing. I mean, I guess I can just eyeball it and make it work. And then when I saw the image of how the pattern pieces are supposed to come together, that line was still missing. So clearly that was just, it was an oversight, I suppose, but it's not like it was a blip on my printout or anything like that. But it was fine to put together. In all honesty, I didn't really follow the instructions of this pattern. I probably didn't for the Helen's Closet one either because they were such easy things to put together. The pants, I will say though, the shape of them was a bit odd. Now, because they are a stretchy fabric, I got away with it no problem, but there is no shape at all to the like waist and hip. There's no curve. It's just boonk, straight up and down. There's an elastic, so fine, and it's drapey fabric, so it just kind of, you know, floats, but it's nice to have a little bit of a curve in that area. And the crotch curves were just really shallow compared to other pants patterns that I've used before. I don't think they were the best shape for me, but again, because it's stretchy fabric and everything, I do get away with it. But I probably wouldn't be leaping to try one of her patterns again in the future, but happy with these makes. The other two-piece set I made is this one. So this top is the Hansie top by Seamwork. I hope you guys can appreciate why I'm having a hard time remembering the names of these patterns because they're just too similar. So yeah, this is a Seamwork pattern, and overall I was happy with how it came together. Nothing too special or flashy. It generally was just a really good, overall decent pattern. There are some bust darts which aren't super easy to see, but they do add a little bit of shape there in the bust where I knew I would need it. This is just a dolman sleeve, like a little just slight drop sleeve over there. There is a facing that goes around the inside of the neckband, which gives you a nice clean finish, but you do top stitch it. So hopefully you guys might be able to see that top stitching. I mean, it's pretty neat, and I feel like I did a good job of making it look really nice and neat around there. I did end up cropping this by 5 inches because I made it as is and I tried it on. I felt like it just did not make sense with the proportions with the high-waisted pant. Because the pants were so high, this just wanted to be a little bit shorter. It looked a bit strange. So yeah, I lopped off just 5 inches from the bottom and it worked well for me. I will say the overall ease I was pretty happy with, but I feel like there wasn't quite as much ease over the hip area as I would have liked. And I don't know if that's just to do with like where it curves out from waist to hip, because our bodies are complicated and three-dimensional, and a pattern piece at some point, if it has a bit of a curve in at the waist and out at the hip, it's not going to necessarily be where your body curves in and out. So it might have been to do with that, but I will say, having cropped it 5 inches, that's probably just what I would do with this pattern if I were to make it again in the future. There is a nice little pocket on there as well, a little patch pocket, which frankly I think gets a bit lost on this fabric. I didn't pattern match because if I'm putting a pocket on a top, I want to be able to see it. So I don't personally like to pattern match that kind of thing in most cases. And I still don't feel like you can particularly see it, which is fine. This is a viscose fabric that I got from Self Made quite a long time ago. So it does have some nice drape to it, but it is a bit of a heavier viscose. So there's obviously a whole range. Viscose is just the substrate, what it's made from. But this honestly to me feels the weight of it more like a viscose twill or possibly even a cotton viscose blend. But it doesn't have a twill weave and there is no cotton in it. It's just a bit of a heavier viscose. And the print I think is really nice. I like this kind of leafy print. I think the main thing is that when I bought it, I had the intention of making a maxi dress from it, and I just wasn't getting a maxi dress from this fabric when I was looking at it. And so I just wasn't doing anything with it. I think the colors are nice. I think they're good on me. And when I realized that I wanted some items for loungewear, particularly like 2-piece sets, I thought actually this would be a heck of a pair of pajamas. So that's what I decided to do. So yeah, that is the top. And then these pants I have made before. They are the Cass Elastic Wide Leg Pants from the fabrics-store.com. Again, free patterns, both free patterns. I'll put links down below if you want to find them. I have made this pattern. It's a really good one. I really don't have any issue with it. The only thing I will say is that I extended the pocket bag. It's just meant to be just one of those little pockets that hang off the side seam, and I don't love that. So I extended the pocket bag all the way up to the elastic waistband. I will say I probably could have extended it just to the bottom of the elastic waistband. That would have been like the wise thing to do, but I extended it all the way. And then the elastic waistband, you fold it over and fold it over again. And so basically this this pocket bag is all the way into all of this that's getting folded over, which is obviously adding a bit of bulk. Now I will say, because I top stitched this one over the top and it's a thinner fabric, even though it's a bit heavier, it's still a viscose fabric. I don't think it makes a difference. And generally I'm going to be wearing this with the top over it anyway, so I don't think it matters, but just something I should probably be a little bit more conscious of in the future. But I do love how these came out. I love how big and wide these legs are. They swish around, they move around, they feel really wonderful. I do really like a big wide leg pant for like sitting on the couch. I sit often with like my legs crossed or my legs up, like curled up on the couch, and this feels so, so nice to wear. Now, I did think that there was always a possibility that I could wear this as like a faux jumpsuit, so I could tuck the top into the trouser. And I do think it really works, and I think it looks really cute. And actually that version makes me think I could, again, see myself wearing this one out and about and not just as loungewear. But as loungewear, I prefer to have untucks, just a little bit more comfortable to have things just kind of hanging loose. And that is how I intend to wear it. Again, I'm not looking for clothes to wear out, I'm looking for clothes to wear in. And I am definitely really happy to have this set in my wardrobe. This fabric is really nice and soft. Like I said, I feel like it's really great colors for me, and another win for my loungewear wardrobe. The final thing I made for the So Frugal challenge was using a remnant from this sweatshirt. This is the Soho 7 Toaster Sweater. I think it's Toaster Sweater 1, the one with this neckline. There's a couple of versions. I like them both. But this fabric, it's a fleece back cotton sweatshirting fabric. So just to show you, it's got this nice fleecy bit on the inside. It's a lighter weight sweatshirting fabric, and so I was aware that whatever I use this fabric for, it's not going to be super snugly warm, but it definitely is really nice and comfortable to wear. It has this grid-like pattern. I saw a lot of this fabric around for a while and decided to finally jump on board. This color, I feel like, is coming up pretty true on screen. It is a like almost like a slate blue. It's a slightly gray blue, which I really like. I like this kind of color for the winter in particular. It feels kind of cozy and like kind of snowy, sunny day. There's something about that feel to me. And I had more of this because I accidentally bought twice as much as I thought I was. I had a discount code for Like So Amazing, and I was buying some fabrics, and I thought I was buying like per half meter, but it was per meter. And it was a really reasonable price. I didn't think I was paying anything crazy. And when the fabric arrived, I was like, wow, that's twice as much as I thought I was getting. Interesting. So I ended up with too much of this fabric, but I felt like it worked so well for this sweatshirt. I just didn't know what else to do with it. And so it sat in my stash for a couple of years. And then when this project or this little plan came along for the loungewear for So Frugal, I was looking at that fabric and thinking, could I possibly do something to make a two-piece set from this? So this toaster sweater is not a free pattern, just to say, it's not a So Frugal entry. I made it a couple years ago, but the Sew House 7 Elemental Pencil Skirt is a freebie, and that's what I decided to make. So hopefully you guys can see. Obviously I'll be popping some pictures in. So it is a very simple pencil skirt. There's not anything exciting or fancy about it from the outside. There's no pockets on this one. I like that there's a nice facing on the top of the waistband, so it just looks so clean all the way from top to bottom. I'm really happy with the shape and the fit. It came together well. The only thing I will say is there was a funny construction with the waistband. I hope I'll be able to explain it to you guys. So let me show you from the inside. So this is the elastic that you stitch to the skirt and the facing, and then you're meant to understitch it to the facing and then kind of fold it back to be the top of the skirt. But this elastic was never going to fold. It's a very stiff elastic. So in the end, I ended up making it so that when you turn it to the inside, this is the top of the elastic, so it just pulled a little bit of the actual skirt onto the inside. But because the elastic is so stiff, it sits absolutely fine. I did put a label on this one because it's one they recommended that you will often not be able to tell the front from the back. You don't see all this elastic that I'm showing you on the inside of the skirt. It's only if I kind of pull it up, and you do stitch it down at the sides as well, so everything's nice and anchored. I felt like this skirt came together really nicely, and I would definitely make this again if I was looking to make another pencil skirt. The set, wearing the two together, I think is really fun. It is definitely a bit suit-like. It looks quite high-end dressy compared to probably what most people would think of as loungewear. But what I had hoped is, because this is sweatpants basically, it's like a sweatsuit, I thought I could wear it at home and then, you know, be able to nip out if I needed to. Theoretically, I could totally wear this out and I could probably wear it to work, but we'll see. I'm just not 100% a pencil skirt girl. It's something that I'm kind of playing around with, but I don't really feel like I have a lot of other tops that go with this skirt. So suggestions, please, of what you think might go with that skirt apart from the sweatshirt. The other thing with this set is because this sweatshirt I made a couple of years ago and I've washed it and I've worn it, the color has clearly changed over time. It's not even like it's just gotten lighter and faded. It's changed, like the original is more greeny and this is just more blue. So you can tell when I wear them together, you can see the difference, but I don't really care. I mean, they're clearly meant to be a set, and the more I wear this one, the more that it's going to change over time. But it was just a funny detail to me that you notice how it's fun when you can see like the original compared to a worn garment and realize how much these things do just change over time. I did sew one other garment in the month of March, and that was for the Sew Yellow for Endo challenge, and I made this sweatshirt right here. This is the Drew sweatshirt from Tilly and the Buttons. I had been curious about this sweatshirt. It's a raglan sleeve oversized sweatshirt. It's intended to be oversized. I had used this fabric in a different colorway before and absolutely loved it. This is a quilted jersey fabric that I got from Higgs and Higgs. So you can see this is the outside. It's quite puffy. You can see the quilt lines. The inside is more smooth, but you can still see the quilt lines there. I had ordered some fabric, like I said, the same fabric in a different colorway, and loved how it felt against the skin, loved how warm it was, because it really does like trap the warmth, this fabric. And I had asked them if they had other colors of this with a ribbing or a rib knit fabric that would match, and they suggested this, which I think was a beautiful color match. I think it came out really well. Now, like I said, I loved how snuggly and warm the sweatshirt was that I had made, but it was a bit cropped. And in the winter, I just want to be like covered as much as possible. I don't want any air going in if I move around. I want to just be in like a little snuggly bubble basically. And because this is longer, I went for the longer lengths of different versions. Because it's longer and it's oversized, it is well and truly like my favorite sweatshirt to put on. I love wearing it. And I feel like it's oversized in like a really nice, cute way. I think I look adorable in it. I feel really good in it. I love the bright yellow color. It's really happy. And it's not a color I would have necessarily chosen. It's a little bit more like a buttercuppy than I would usually go for. I usually go for more of a mustard, although here I am and obviously even a brighter yellow, but I do really like it. I think it worked out really well, and it was nice to be able to take part in that challenge. I will be making that sweatshirt again. Probably many of you will know it comes with options of like different color work, so you can chop up different sections and put different colors together, and I do want to play around with that at some point now that I know that I really like the fit and the shape of it. I could also see making a cropped version, but there's just something about a long cozy sweatshirt in the wintertime. I could not stop wearing that thing when it was cold out. I just wanted it on all the time, so I know it's going to be a major winner in my wardrobe. I did complete one other thing that was an accessory. This is an eye mask. It's really not that exciting to show off. This is in that same stretch velvet fabric, so it's very, very soft. Now, I had an eye mask. I know this is like the ideal way to show you guys with my with my glasses on. I had made this eye mask before. It's the frilly and the buttons. I think it's called the Fifi Eye Mask. I had made it before, and I used to wear it at nighttime when my husband was still reading and I was ready to go to sleep, and he still had the light on, so I pop it over my eyes, and then when he would turn the light out, I would then whip it off and just like throw it just wherever. And generally it would go on my side of the bed. And so the next day I would be hunting around looking for the eye mask somewhere on the floor or on top of the dresser, wherever it happened to land. And then I put it on again that night and, you know, wash and repeat. So I used to do that very regularly with my previous eye mask that was also made in a velvet fabric. And I lost it one day. I obviously had whipped it off like I do, and I genuinely have no clue where it has gone. My husband and I have both just completely like stripped down that side of the bedroom, trying to figure out where it could be. It is gone. So either it somehow got like bundled up with something else and thrown into the garbage, because I don't have a garbage on my side of the bed. That's on my husband's side of the bed, and I never throw it that way because it would land on him probably. It goes to the other side of the bed. However, it also could have gotten bundled up with some laundry and thrown into the laundry and then like gone into a sleeve of a sweatshirt or something like that, and maybe I'll find it at some point. But basically I was lost, and I was at one point getting so desperate that I was taking a sock, a clean sock, and putting it over my eyes so that I could get some dark before I could throw it off when my husband was then turning the light off. And I decided this situation has to change. So I went ahead and I remade my Fifi eye mask in another velvet fabric. It's a super simple make. It's not anything too exciting, but it is really nice. And I did add a middle layer, which obviously you're not going to be able to see, out of leftover some polar fleece fabric that I used recently for a jumpsuit, just to give it a little bit of extra padding layer. And it's perfect. It's definitely doing the trick at nighttime. I will be curious if that other one will ever appear again in my life, but for now I have an eye mask, which is definitely what I needed. And I do have one work in progress, which is right here. I am partway through the Blanca Flightsuit by Closet Core Patterns. I talked about this in my, I think it was my fall sewing plan, so it's taken a little while, but we get there eventually, guys. It is in this really wonderful, it's like a, I think it's called a bubble corduroy fabric that I got from Sew Me Sunshine. I'll show you just generally what it is looking like. So this is the front. There's a dart, there's a pocket. It's coming together nicely. It's attached to the pants. So for this pattern, you make like the full front and the full back, and then you put the sides and the crotch together. And the back I have finished. I just haven't added the patch pockets on the back because I made a muslin of this one just to check the fit, and I knew that the back pocket placement was way off, and so I wanted to play around with that on my other version. I've got belt loops on here as well that are stitched on. I had a time with these bar tacks, well and truly. This is a thick fabric to begin with, and as you can imagine with the bar tacks, we've got like multiple layers of this belt loop, like folded back and folded back again. And then you're folding the belt loop back into itself and sewing. In addition to, especially at this top part, you're stitching through also the seam on this side. So I think it was like I figured out 9 layers of fabric that I was trying to stitch through. And there were definitely some points where my sewing machine was making the noise, the horrible noise that most of you will have heard, where it's like, and you're like, please, please don't break the needle, you're okay. I was coaxing my sewing machine, like sweet talking it, telling it's gonna be fine, doing a bit of using that hand wheel to get it through some of the trickier bits. But I got my bar tacks on, and like I said, I'm really happy. This is the back, so it's come together really nicely. There's a cute little pin tuck detail on the back that hopefully you guys can see. I did end up apparently cutting this back, what do I want to call it, like a waistband that's on the back, clearly upside down. So you can see that's another color, but there is going to be an actual belt going over the top, so I don't think it's going to matter, but it almost kind of looks like a belt, kind of looks intentionally like a belt, which it is not meant to be. At least it's just the belt section. It's not like one of the legs was cut the wrong way around. I was trying, obviously, to not make those kinds of silly mistakes, but I got to the point where I was basically, I needed to put the pockets on the front, and then I was going to do the zipper. And I started sewing this at a sewing social, which I'll talk about in a little minute. And I decided that was probably a bit ambitious to be doing when I'm not at home, when I've got like people that I'm chatting to, lots of noise. I needed some concentration. And so I put it on hold, and then pretty much immediately after that, I got really stuck into all of my Sew Frugal projects. So this has been sitting like, I don't know, probably I feel like 75% of the way done, like a good portion of the way done since probably like a week into March or 2 weeks into March. But it is the next thing I'm going to be working on. So I'm excited to get back onto it and get that sewn up. I feel like sometimes when you're really like in a project and it's exciting, you're like working, and then as soon as you pause, you really lose momentum. So I'm hoping to just get back on the horse and get this one done soon, because I feel really excited about it. I think it's going to turn out really well, and I'm hoping that I can get that one sewn up pretty soon in April. So I'm just going to go right into my 25 for 2025 updates. I feel like it just makes sense from what I was talking about. So if you're not familiar with this, it is 25 things I am hoping to do in the year 2025. I'll put a link up here to the video where I explained it in more detail. But number 10 is to attend 3 sewing socials. And I have achieved my 1 of 3 so far this year. So I went to my first sewing social last year, had a really nice experience, wanted to go again, and I thought, well, just going once isn't really going to do it. Let's try a good few times. My hope is to try to attend some different socials just to see different dynamics, different setups. I feel like it would be cool just to get a bit of variety. But I did go to the Southern Social, which is the one that I went to before, and it was nice to see some familiar faces. And there's something just really exciting and inspiring and fun about being in a room with a whole lot of other people who are creating, all working on different projects, all sewing up different things with different styles, different types of fabrics. And it was really fun to be able to just like check in on like, oh, what are you making? What are you doing now? And, you know, complimenting each other's fabric choices and all that kind of stuff. It's a really nice environment, a really cool thing to be able to do. And so I was glad that I went to that. And like I said, I had to be mindful of what I was working on, because working on a jumpsuit that I've never made that has quite, you know, a lot of complicated construction is probably not ideal, but it was what I happened to have cut out. And that was when I ended up swapping over to the Drew sweatshirt, which I could sew without looking at the instructions, just whip it together, and the eye mask. I sewed those 2 completely at the sewing social and got, you know, a good portion of the way through this jumpsuit there. But it's something I do want to do again. If you know of any other sewing socials in or around London, particularly like Northwest London way, please do let me know, because I do want to try and find some different ones. I will be trying to get to the new Craft House one, but they tend to do it on an evening, which is not great for me because it's awkward to get there, and especially in the week if I'm working, it's really awkward. But they occasionally have ones at the weekend as well, which is what I would hope to get to. But like I said, if you know of any others, please do let me know in the comments down below. I do get to cross off one of mine, number 16. Make a fancy cake for no reason. So I'm going to cross that baby off, which is always a good feeling. This was a goal that I carried over from last year, 2024. It was something that I wanted to do, but I just didn't get around to doing it. Mainly because my husband and I, we live alone. We don't have a lot of other family and friends nearby. And baking a whole lot of stuff means eating a whole lot of stuff, just the two of you. And it is just not very sustainable. It's not a lifestyle. I would love it, but my body wouldn't love it. So I just cannot be eating all the stuff that I would love to bake. But I wanted to just throw caution to the wind, just make a really special cake that isn't for anybody else, because most of the times when I bake a cake, it's for someone's birthday and I'm, you know, baking to their specifications. I wanted to just bake whatever the heck I wanted to make. And so I made a Snickers cake. I got this recipe, or I adapted this recipe from Gretchen's Vegan Bakery, and I'll put a link down below to the YouTube video where she talked through how to build this cake, and then links to recipes of how you can make the different elements. There are a lot of bits involved in this cake, and I made it all the different elements over multiple days. I made it over 2 days, so that way it wasn't just like a crazy session of making all these things. The cake, I followed the one she put on there, which is a vegan chocolate cake, which is mwah, like chef's kiss. Such a good chocolate cake. Very peculiar. There is a lot of coffee added to it. There's no egg. It's a vegan cake, so it's oil rather than butter. There's no egg in it, and it doesn't taste like coffee. It just tastes like amazing chocolate cake. So I will definitely be remembering that cake for the future. But I didn't follow the rest of her recipes exactly because I have a lot of her old recipes. I've been following her for a long time on YouTube and also her blog. She used to have the Woodland Bakery blog when she used to own a bakery. I think it was in New Jersey. And she would share like real bakery recipes. And I mean, come on, like I love American bakeries. I miss American bakeries living in England. And so I was really like hoarding all of her recipes. And when I learned at one point that she'd gone vegan, I mean, definitely like totally respect that and absolutely understand why she would do that. But I had a feeling she was probably going to remove a lot of her old non-vegan recipes. And so I downloaded and printed a ton of those. And would you know, she then did, of course, delete all the non-vegan recipes. And so I have them in like a little stash. And I hope it wouldn't upset her to know, I used her old non-vegan recipes to make the rest of this cake. It was so, so good. So I'm going to talk through the layers and then tell you what they were. But basically, is a 3-tier cake with the chocolate layers, chocolate cake layers. Between the bottom tier and the middle layer is a peanut butter nougat, peanut butter buttercream, crushed peanuts, and then between the middle and the top tier is a peanut butter buttercream, crushed peanuts, and a homemade caramel. And then the whole thing is covered in the peanut butter buttercream. I then made a chocolate ganache drizzle and used the same caramel to drizzle over the top. So yeah, definitely these were very like complex things to put together. The fake nougat, that was easy. That was not hard to put together. The peanut butter buttercream, it's a Swiss meringue buttercream that I chose to make, which again, it's one of her old recipes. Swiss meringue buttercream, you heat up the egg white and sugar together till it hits a certain temperature, and then you whip it with egg whites till it is super, super stiff. You whip it with a whisk, electric whisk, until it's super, super stiff peaks. Then you add the powdered sugar and the butter to it, and it becomes the most incredible, very like bakery style buttercream frosting. Absolutely love that stuff. It's really good at holding its shape. It is great to keep. You can have it room temperature for many days. It's awesome. I'm sorry I can't share the recipe with you guys, but I used that and added some peanut butter to it to make a peanut butter buttercream. And the caramel I made myself, homemade caramel, soft pouring caramel. I had 2 attempts at it. The first one, I completely forgot that you're not supposed to whisk it once the sugar melts or it crystallizes. I mean, I know that. That seemed like such a just beginner error. But anyway, I completely destroyed one version of the caramel, but I made another one the next day. I did do a little bit of filming of some of the process so you guys can see, because it was really fun making caramel. It's a little bit scary. It feels very like science classy. Things are blowing up on you, but it's very fun when it works. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. So yeah, I used that homemade caramel. And yeah, my chocolate ganache, again, that's her recipe. It's just cream and dark chocolate, Bournville chocolate. It works beautifully. But it was such a fun one to build. I really loved the look of it. It was quite wild. Now I will say this chocolate was rich as anything. You have a bite and it's just like, oh, that is the most incredible, indulgent, delicious thing. And then when you're like halfway through the slice, you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do this anymore. So my husband and I ended up at the eating the rest of the cake in like the tiniest little wedges because it was so stacked up. It was still a lot of cake. I did end up sharing it with a friend as well, just so that I could give some of it away for her and her partner. But I will say we definitely slowly but surely did work through that cake, and it was delightful, and it was fun to be able to cross it off my list. I did also make progress on my number 18, complete a jigsaw puzzle a month. I made a puzzle. I don't have it with me here. I'm just going to remind myself what it's called. It's the Essex Sunset Valley, Elena Essex Sunset Valley jigsaw puzzle. This is actually one that I had made before. I got this one as a gift probably like a year or two ago. And I really like the colors of it. I like kind of the feel of it. It's very sunsetty, as the name suggests. The thing I will say with this, and this is, I've made 2 puzzles by the same pattern, jigsaw puzzle creator, is that the puzzle pieces are not that clear when they fit. And there were portions of the jigsaw puzzle, particularly in the sky, where I thought I had the edge together and I was like, well, the other pieces don't quite match up. And I realized that some of them were in the wrong place and I had to take them off and put them somewhere else. Never a good sign. So I did have some slight challenges here and there putting the jigsaw puzzle together, but I put it together and at the end realized that I was missing a piece. So I decided, well, there's nothing I can do about it at this point. I've done most of the jigsaw puzzle and it then went into the bin. This is the second month now, so we're like 3 months in. This is the second month that I did not think I was going to do a jigsaw puzzle that month because I had a lot going on this month and I didn't have time to just sit and do jigsaw puzzles all the time. And it was something like the 28th, 27th where I was like, well, let's just see what we have and I can just chip away on it slowly. And slowly but surely I got sucked in. And that is the thing with me in jigsaw puzzles is basically like once I start one, I become pretty obsessed and I'm like every spare minute I'm like, I could just do a little bit more. I could just maybe find a piece here. And then before I know it, the jigsaw puzzle is complete. But I had the intention when I said I was going to do 1 per month. I like the idea of like having one ongoing throughout the month that I would just work on, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there, but it kind of feels like that's not the reality of me and jigsaw puzzles. Like I have a bit of a more like obsessive, addictive relationship with jigsaw puzzles. And I wasn't sure also if I was like, maybe I don't want to do one every month. And then I did that one and flew through it in like a few days. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll keep it on there. Maybe I'll still aim to do 1 per month, but I'll try to get one going earlier in April. And maybe it won't be something that I have to feel like I'm powering through quite so much. My husband and I have also been working through our year of Burton, so we wanted to watch all of Tim Burton's films this year, and we were trying to watch them more or less in order, and we ended up having to watch one slightly out of sequence. So we watched Planet of the Apes, which was, man, not a good movie at all. I was very much not, it didn't seem Tim Burton-y in any way, shape, or form. The acting was terrible. Yeah, not a movie for me. And we have a little bingo game going that we've got the like Tim Burton tropes that we're crossing off as we go. I don't think we got anything from that movie either. So it was just an overall big disappointment. But hey, we're doing it. We're like making the point to be thorough rather than skipping anything that we might not be interested in. We also watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I saw before. It's okay. It's more true to the book than Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but I have a special place in my heart for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I'm one of those kids, right? Like many of you probably. I grew up with it. It's just a love. I love that one. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim Burton one. It was fine, and it did have some fun, particularly fun details. I think Johnny Depp did a really good job with that role, but Gene Wilder is always going to be Willy Wonka to me. We then ended up watching Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children because that was like about to go off Netflix and we didn't want to have to pay for it, but we could potentially watch it for free. And that movie felt like Tim Burton squared. Like he was getting into it. It was pretty silly. It was pretty out there. I kind of like when somebody really like gets into themselves and does the thing that they really like and digs into their style, but it wasn't the best, but it was fine. It was fine. I feel like my husband and I kind of stopped watching Tim Burton movies at some point, and I feel like I'm kind of starting to realize why that was. And then we did end up watching Corpse Bride, which was like a bingo card extravaganza. We are so close to getting a bingo. Again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link to where I talk about it in more detail, but well and truly, I think it's going to be probably like 1 or 2 movies and we're going to be there. And I do think there will be some nice surprises as we go along. And there are things that we've liked in pretty much all of the movies. but there's been the odd miss here and there. I've also been working through my number 25 goal, which is to read 25 books this year. I read The Measure by Nikki Ehrlich. This was one that one of my aunts and my mom had read, and my mom had mentioned it. I thought it sounded fun. Put myself on like a hold for it at the library, and it came out. Read it. I read that one so fast. I read it in probably like 3-4 days. It's a very easy read. It's a very interesting concept. So the idea is, I don't want to give too much away, but the idea is that everybody gets to find out how long their life is. So basically when they're going to die, and then the impacts on how that changes your behavior, your relationships, society as a whole. I think it's a really interesting thought experiment, and I think some of the execution wasn't quite there for me. But it was honestly a pretty fun book. I think it would be such a good like book club book. It's a nice one to read and be able to talk to other people about, just to get ideas of like, well, would you want to know how, you know, what would you think if this or that happened? But yeah, it was an interesting one for sure. And I see why it's been a big success and a very popular book. And I think it's a cool one to check out. I also read Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I love that book so much. That was a really, really good one. That one for me is like top of the list probably for the books I've read this year. Really, really like that one a lot. There is a kind of a feel and a style to a lot of Japanese writing that I like that's quite direct and not necessarily super flowery. There are ways that things are written in like quite a poetic way. I don't know. There's a bit of a difference. They don't feel overwritten, which I think is probably what I would say about a lot of the things I didn't love as much that I read this year. They felt quite overwritten, whereas these feel quite stark in a nice way, quite clean. And I really just enjoyed the writing style so much. The main character, the protagonist, is definitely an interesting, atypical character, and it was really fun to kind of get into her head and get into her world. It is a super short novel, really, really quick and easy to read. Really did enjoy that one for sure. I also reread If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler by Italo Calvino, which is a book that I first read when I was a teenager and was smitten. Absolutely loved that book so much. It seemed so fun, so clever. I think being a little bit older, it didn't have quite the same impact, and possibly because it's a reread, it's never going to have quite the same impact. It's a very quirky, unusual novel. It's hard even to think of how to describe it, but it basically starts off talking about you, the reader, and what your experience is like, might be like while you're reading this book. It's really fun. It definitely kind of pulls you in. It takes you on a wild journey. You don't know where it's going to go. And it was a fun reread. It wasn't like ultimate read for me, largely because I read it before, but I did enjoy reading it again. I do also want to show you guys, I had talked about this in a previous video. I think I was working on it in January, and I didn't do a lot of it in February, but in March, I've been working on my bookshop. So this is something that I've been building. It's like a little model. I probably need to do just like a little shot of it. Oh, you can't really see anything on that side. A little footage of it so you can see everything going on, but I've got like chandeliers that I've been building. I made a little globe. I've got just a ton of bookshelves. It's been a really fun project, something to just sit and work on very like in quiet moments. That's not sewing. It's not really taking concentration or brain power. It's just something that you just sit and gently do with your hands. And it's got like wiring that I'm still working on. I'm honestly like most of the way, I'm pretty much done with it, but I haven't quite finished. I'll probably be finishing that one fairly soon. But it has been a really nice thing to just sit and do in quiet moments, and a good thing to focus on when there's other distractions and I just want to quiet my mind. The other big thing that I was working on in the month of March, particularly when I had the week off, but probably a fair bit throughout the month as well, was my April Fool's video, which a lot of you will have seen. If you hadn't, I'll put a link to it up here and down below. I always like to put links to those things. But I made a really ridiculous April Fool's video talking about how I was going to be starting a online sewing course for dogs. This has been going on for a long time. So the actual filming stuff with my brother and sister's dog was back in September, I think, so in the fall. And my husband was working on the music, I think probably even before that. We were talking about the concept, and he got excited about making all these ridiculous music to put into it. And it was something the two of us were working on together throughout the month of March. And I have to say, it's one of those things, like, I'm the kind of person who really enjoys doing totally out there goofy things, like harmless, goofy out there things. And I love having somebody in my life who is up for that. I don't think I could be with somebody who wasn't up for just a little bit of silliness, goofiness. And he is 100% on board. And we are probably a bad influence on each other in that way, because we're both like getting more worked up about, oh, what else can we put in there? How else can we do this? But it's a super fun thing for us to work on together. And I will say, like, everything from writing the script to the, you know, editing, everything we were doing together. And it was a really fun thing to be able to work on, like, as a project for the two of us. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was definitely totally nuts, and I 100% was not keeping a straight face. There were a lot of times when I was laughing. Some of those takes particularly where I was like turning my head and saying a line, I was losing it, my husband was losing it, my niece who's there for the filming was losing it. It was really a lot of fun though, and I'm so glad that we put it together. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it made a lot of you guys laugh. And that was my action-packed March. I feel like there was a lot going on, and I feel like I've got a really good momentum going into April. And I have to say, the sun has been shining. I'm loving the longer daylight hours. It is giving me life. It is making me feel so excited and so inspired. I hope you guys had a good month of March yourself. I would love to hear if you took part in the So Frugal Challenge, the So Yellow for Endo Challenge, anything else that you made last month. It's always nice to be able to catch up with you guys, or if you have any thoughts or comments on a lot of the craziness that I got up to in the month of March. I do have a spring sewing plans video coming soon that I've been working on, because like I said, all the inspiration is just flying through my head. I have a Clash of the Patterns video that I've been slowly working on in the background as well. So please do make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see those or other upcoming videos. I will see you guys very soon. Bye.